Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Rodeo Kids podcast. If this is your first time, welcome. If you've been here before and come back for more, welcome back. We are so excited to have you here and for you to listen to this wonderful, delightful conversation between our Rodeo Kids ambassador and team leader, Kalli McCoy, and Victoria Procter. Victoria is a young lady who is coming up the ranks with a bang in the WPRA right now. She is in that rookie race and she has been making waves at the BBR finals, at the college rodeos, at the UPRA rodeos. And she is just a delightful young lady who talks a little bit about her college rodeo experience, about injuries, about goal setting process, or not so much of a process, and just putting her horses and God at the forefront and letting the rest play out as it's meant to be and having that faith. And it's again just a delightful conversation that we look forward to you listening to and sharing. We encourage you to hit that follow button so you can stay up to date with all of the Rodeo Kids podcasts. So without further ado, we'd like to introduce Kalli McCoy with her guest Victoria Procter.
World changer, history maker. World changer, history maker.
Welcome to the RodeoKids.com podcast, where we empower youth to be their best selves through the values and traditions of the rodeo and Western lifestyle.
Hello, Victoria, and thank you so much for meeting with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we usually start these out with you telling us a little bit about yourself, like who you are, where you got started, and how you got involved in rodeo.
My name is Victoria Procter. I am from Lampasas, Texas. I got started in rodeo when I was about 12 years old, and I went to Tammy Fisher's house, and she has helped me ever since. And now my story just doesn't exist without the mare I have right now, Bunny. She's helped me get everywhere that I've gotten so far. And, you know, if horses could talk, y'all'd be talking to her and not me. So that's a little bit about me.
I think it's pretty safe to say that you have been on fire lately.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tell us what you've been up to the past couple of months.
Well, I've been busy with school, but I've kind of, dabbled my foot in the pro rodeo world, and it's been really fun. My mare loves the rodeos. So we've been trying to bounce back and forth between school, exams, rodeos, jackpots, and just whatever I enter. I try to keep up with how much I enter. I have 3 horses, so I have to go back and forth between them. They're not all at the same stage right now. I have Bunny, who's the yellow mare that I won BBR on. She is so sorry. She is 9 years old and she's rodeo. She loves the rodeos more than the jackpots. And then I have a 7-year-old bay mare, Quincy, who I ran at the rookie roundup. That was her 3rd rodeo ever. So she's just barely getting into it. And then I have another colt at home. So I've been trying to go back and forth between all 3 of them. They're all at different stages in their life. And, I want to give them all the best shot I can. But I do want to rodeo this summer as much as I can, just because I think that's where Bunny likes it the most. And I think she deserves to rodeo. I want people to know her because she's such an incredible horse.
I love Bunny.
Yeah, me too. She's so good. She's the best.
You told us a little bit about them. What's it been like bringing up 3 different states, like all at one time, and balancing college work? I mean, you said it was a lot, but
yeah. I mean, my poor colt Clifford, he has just been on the back burner because I had like San Antonio in February, and then some college rodeos, and then exams, and then in March some more pro rodeos hit. And so really Quincy and Clifford have been on the back burner. But I just I'm trying to figure out how to answer that. It's a challenge, but Tammy has helped me a lot because, Quincy was the first one I attempted training, and she was very challenging. She doesn't like a lot. She's sensitive, quirky. And so Bunny gave me the easy route with the seasoning, because I didn't really consider it seasoning. She seasoned me. You know, she went to the rodeos like she had been there her whole life. Quincy has, you know, made me beat my head against a wall and want to quit and everything. So there's just been such a strange dynamic between all three of them. You know, Bunny, she lets me win, and Quincy likes to humble me really good. And Clifford does too when I give him the shot. They really love serving me some humble pie. Bunny will too. You know, some days she'll wake up and be like, you've won too much, and she'll just humble me. But it's just been so, I love it though. I mean, Quincy has been one of my most favorite things ever, is riding her, because I just know what it was like when I couldn't lope a circle on her 2 years ago. And so now to see that she is running, like, she's not quite at Bunny's level yet, but to see where she's running and how far she's come has been incredible. And I mean, it's that same way with Bunny. Like, I've loved seeing, when I first got her, you know, Ryan told me this mare is a solid 2D mare. She's got the potential to do whatever you want her to do, and she wants to rodeo, but she's never been rodeoed on. And she was just that perfect 2D pattern horse. And so it's been fun to see like where that has taken us, and like what the confidence, like I feel like Bunny has become really confident since I've got her, and what that can do to a horse once they really feel confident in themselves and they love their job so much. It's just incredible to see what all they can accomplish. So it's been fun and humbling, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
I mean, I think it's amazing that you pulled out Quincy.
I mean, I was having like I was just like almost in tears because I was so nervous. I don't know how to handle nerves very well, because, you know, I don't get nervous on Bunny for the most part. We kind of just know our jobs, and like we fit like a glove, so it's easy, like whatever happens. And, you know, since Rabbit died, my whole mindset has changed. You know, it's just a run. At the end of the day, if you don't win, you don't win. Like the wins are counted as I get to come home with a sound horse that I love, and that's enough for me. So it's been kind of like, it's changed a lot since that has happened. And, you know, Bunny doesn't let me get nervous. She is a nervous horse, so I have to stay calm to keep her calm. And then by the time I ran, I immediately knew that I was coming back in the 4-man round, and I was terrified, like just completely terrified. I unsaddled Bunny, I watered her, and then I was like, okay, Quincy, this is you now. And, you know, I'm the only one who changed horses. So I'm back there like loping this mare down. Like, I want her paying attention to me. I don't want either one of us to embarrass ourselves, you know, because she's incredible. I love her, and she's so talented, and I didn't want her to look bad with how many people were watching. And she loves that pin, so I should have been more confident, but I wasn't. And the fact that she went out there and ran as good as she did, like, truly blew me away, because she handled my nerves better than I thought she would. And I mean, I was mainly nervous because she had not been running good that weekend at BBR. She had been like solid 3D and just kind of not snappy, not her normal self. And so I was not counting on having to run her there. But when it came down to it, Bunny was, she had used, she had ran twice for me that day. And so she had given me everything she had, and it was Quincy's turn. And so, like, by the time I finished and I ran, I was like shaking. I was like, I could be fourth and it wouldn't matter, because she just did so good.
And that says so much about the trust you put into them. And
thank you. I don't think she even knew. Like, I think she was confused. She's like, why are you so nervous, Mom? But like, she went out there, she walked all the way up the alley and just like paid attention, let me do what I needed to do. And then she fired hard. And so I was so proud with her.
All right. So switching gears a little bit.
Yeah.
Like high school students, I am obsessed with the idea of college and college rodeo.
Yeah.
And touch on today. So tell them who you compete for.
I rodeo for Texas A&M University in College Station.
Gig 'em.
Yes, gig 'em.
So how did you get into college rodeo? Were you recruited or did you join later on when you got there?
So Texas A&M is a little different than most of your collegiate like rodeos. You know, we are not sponsored by the university. We have to get all of ours on our own. So there's not big scholarships. You know, they can't, it's hard for A&M to recruit because we don't even have a paid coach right now. So we're working on a lot of raising money and stuff to get our program better. But, you know, if you go to the junior colleges, they're going to offer you more money. Or even like if you go to Tarleton or those schools over there, they've got a totally different program where they've got arenas, stalls, practice pin, like they practice together. A&M is totally different. I love it, and I'm glad that I've got to see it grow so much. But my start with A&M was mainly, you know, my parents have always made it to where school is first and, you know, horses come second. So that was my first pick because A&M is such an incredible university for academics and getting in that network. Like the Aggie network is so strong that, you know, aside from your degree, you're going to meet Aggies along the road forever and they'll help you get jobs. And that was really important. And so when I got accepted into the university, I met with the coach. And, you know, anyone can college rodeo as long as you keep your grades up. The team is a little different, but I just met with him and we talked. And then when I got to school my freshman year, we had a meeting and just like, there's about, I want to say 40 people on the team, or like that rodeo for A&M. The team is totally different, but about 40 people who rodeo for A&M, which has been incredible because all my closest and dearest friends right now have been who I have met through A&M rodeo.
What are you majoring in?
I am an ag business major with a minor in ag economics.
What is the competition like on the college level compared to high school? Is you high school rodeoed in Texas?
Yes. You know, Texas is tough always. The college rodeos, they're pretty tough and it's more of a consistent basis because they only take 3 to nationals. There's no state, you know, it's regionals and nationals. So you're divided up in regions and you get 10 rodeos a year, which is, it's very similar to high school, but in the fact that you don't have state to fix if you don't do perfect at the regional level. You have to be consistent all year long to end up in the top 3, which is a challenge because I was never a queen of consistency until I got to college. But it is tough, and there are a lot of girls that win. And, you know, I'm only in the barrel racing aspect of it, but I know that like in my region, the goat tying is incredible to watch. And especially at the college finals, like the goat tying is something that everybody goes and runs to the fence to watch because those girls are tying 5 second. It's incredible. But it is a big jump from high school to college. But, you know, a lot of freshmen, they'll come in like this year, JC Byler is a freshman and she won it. And my freshman year, Emma Smith, a good friend of mine, won it. And so it's a challenge, but, you know, that's rodeo everywhere. It's not too big or not a doable jump from one to the other. I literally never made state in barrels in high school. I made state in the poles 2 years, and that was it. I never made state in the barrels. And everyone like thinks I'm joking when I tell them that. I was like, I sucked at barrel racing when I was in high school. Like I just was not a barrel racer. And so, you know, that says something too, though. But I never made state in the barrels, and I've made nationals twice now in the barrels at college.
So Lariat Larner was the same way.
Yes.
So all of her high school, which if you knew Lariat, anyone who knew Lariat, she was an incredible, very consistent goat tire. And she went to Region 3, which is where I go.
Yes.
She hit the state all of high school. And then she lit the college world on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Went everything. Became a
yeah.
So, I mean, that says something. That
yes, sure.
It's, if you weren't successful in high school, there is still hope, you know?
Yeah, I know. I think one of the basketball I don't want to say the wrong basketball player, but like wasn't LeBron or someone, they were cut from their high school team in basketball and then they made the NBA. So, you know, just stick with it.
Yeah. What is the atmosphere in college?
Oh, it's so different. Like it's so crazy to explain because you have some kids that are still with their parents and their parents are hauling them everywhere. Then you have some kids who have never been alone and don't know how to do anything on their own. Like they don't know how to take care of their horses. They don't. And then you have some kids who have been doing it by themselves for years. So it's crazy when you go to a college rodeo and seeing all the different, you know, like my parent, like Tammy has always been like, college rodeo is where you learn to be independent. So like parents really shouldn't be there unless it's, my parents will come watch a short go every now and then, but it's mainly for kids to just grow up and learn how to be independent. But like on the rodeo aspect of it, it's not like too crazy. Like I'll go to the amateurs and it's going to be like a crazier perf or like a more nervous setting, but the college rodeos are really laid back. A few of the perfs can be really fun because they'll have fun acts or something, but it's not too different from a typical amateur rodeo. It is different. I always felt like the high school rodeos felt like a barrel race or like a jackpot because it was just, 50 barrel racers ran at once. It was almost like a slack. And they have slacks and they have perfs here. And so it varies, but the atmosphere is definitely not as stressful as your typical amateur rodeos until you get to the finals. That is that's been the most, like, just the setup of it and like the crowd and everything changes the whole atmosphere of like you have to walk under a tunnel of the stands and that it like shakes when you're under there. So that's a lot for a nervous barrel horse to handle. But for the most part, the 10 rodeos we go to, the atmosphere is, we have like, that's the rodeo atmosphere, but like your friends, they're all good. They all like, they want you to win like a typical rodeo family would. And so it's fun to, cheer on your best friends and have fun while you're doing it.
How does going from a more solo style of competition to being on a rodeo team affect you, and like what are your feelings?
Like for the team, we don't like haul together. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
I mean, go like when you get to nationals, there's also like region as a women's team. You get to nationals. How does having the pressure of this team is riding on your performance? Okay. Everybody.
Yeah. So last year it was more of a like I focused on myself just because that is like Bunny loves that kind of setup and I really wanted to like help her do her best, and like we just went one round at a time. I had a lot of fun with all my friends, and this year I kind of want to go in with the same. You don't want to put too much pressure on someone because last year we sent 5 girls, and no, we sent 6 girls, and so only 4 girls were on the team, and 2 of them didn't do good, but you just can't fault them at that stage, and so it happens, and so none of us try to put too much pressure on the other one. It's all just like, you do what you do and it's fine. You got 3 rounds to get points and maybe a 4th round, maybe not. But it is different because I've always rodeoed for myself and my horse. And so when you put in it, I felt more pressure this year at the regional rodeos than I did last year, if I'm going to be honest, because I ran Quincy at some of them. And I felt bad that my coach would put me on the team when, I know he puts me on the team for Bunny. Like that, like she's the one who gets the points. And so I would feel nervous and I wouldn't want to let my team down if I got on a horse that's not as seasoned and maybe is not the most reliable choice, but it was what I had to do with, what was going on that weekend or how Bunny was feeling. And so I would get more nervous at the regional rodeos to get points. But, we never really like talked about like last year, I don't even think our coach really put much pressure on us to win a team. And I know everyone wanted to because we had such a great team going in. We won barrels, breakaway, goat tying, and the all around at our regional level, which was like we broke a record. But I don't remember ever like getting nervous about the team aspect of it. You know, we were all just like nervous for each other. Like I hauled with Emma Smith up there, and you know, I would be more nervous for her to run because I can't control that. And she'd be nervous for me to run. And so it was more of like, we just want each other to do good and not focus on where our team ended up. But I do hope that, you know, we end up a little better on the team this year. We do have 4 girls, and then we actually sent 4 guys this year too. And we didn't have any guys go last year. I don't know if that answers the question how you wanted me to, but
I love that take on it.
I try, you know, the team roping has always been like, I would feel so bad to have a team roping partner and do bad and, you know, let them down. I've said that my whole life. And so, I mean, the barrels is the same thing because I do have a partner and I don't want to let her down. But, you know, at the end of the day, it works out how God wanted it to, and it's all planned. So that takes a lot of the stress off. And just having like good-hearted and like teammates that care about you and not just the outcome of the rodeo really makes it a lot easier and less stressful on us.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned it earlier, but the relationships you've built through college rodeo.
Yes. There, you know, like even we all moved back home on Monday, today's Wednesday. And so literally every single day, like we just keep in touch all the time. And, you know, I made a lot of friends in high school, but none that I have stayed as strong connected to as my college friends. And, you know, when you college rodeo, like your passion is still there. A lot of people in high school, they fickle off into other things, and, you know, they get interested in other stuff. And when you're in college and you take the time to rodeo with school and everything else on top, you have a passion for it. So it's nice to have friends that share my passion and like I can talk about horses and school with. But it's not like when we hauled up to the nationals last year, me and Emma didn't haul together to nationals. We followed each other and it was fun. I had never really hardly ever been out of the state of Texas, and we went up to New Mexico, then Colorado and Wyoming, and we saw stuff together. We went out to eat and we had fun in Casper. There's a river, there's like a lake that you can rent a boat on, and we drove up a mountain, and it's just been fun having friends like that and that cheer for you regardless of if you're in your winning season or you're in your losing season. And like Madeline Richards, I love her so much. And we run the social media together. Well, Maddie Uthier, Madeline, and I kind of are switching off on the social media, and they've been incredible to work with. And I've gotten closer to them over the years. But it is so nice to have friends that I just know will be there for me in the long run. And even when I get out of college. So I've loved that aspect of A&M rodeo.
Is it difficult balancing school and rodeo?
Yes, it is. You know, my first 2 years, I was just amateur rodeoing. But, you know, classes at A&M, they're never easy. They're just hard and harder. And so my first 2 years, it was easier. But my friends would always joke that, well, Victoria's entered up this weekend. She's going to Alaska, then Canada, then Texas, then all over. Because I never just go one place. If we had a college rodeo in Athens, I'd enter some barrel races or jackpots on the way, or some rodeos on the way, just to make the trip worth it. You know, diesel's expensive. But this year, I guess it was a smart decision because I'm sitting good in the standings for the rookie year. But I decided that, you know, I only have this good horse for so long, and she's 9 this year. And if I want to do something with her and get her out in the pro rodeo world, I need to get it done. And so I bought my permit, filled it, and bought my card. And now I've been like in between the pro rodeos. and my upper level year at A&M. So like the week of BBR, it was in between the week of finals, and I like exhausted myself out. I had an exam Wednesday night. I got out at 9. Then I drove to BBR with my brother was great, and he met me at a Brookshire's parking lot with my horses in the trailer at 9:00. And so I unloaded them, I put their boots on, and then we headed up to Oklahoma. Got there around 3. Tammy and the Askies had my stalls bedded, which helped me out. All I had to do was hang water buckets and hay bags. And then the next morning we got up and ran. And then that was the only day I got to stay in BBR. But I had to study because I had an exam Monday morning as soon as I got back, and I had 2 exams that Friday. And then Friday, it like all hit me all at once. I had the Coliseum. I ran both of them. Then I drove to Fort Worth as fast as I could. No, I didn't run anything Friday until my first run at Fort Worth. And then I came back, ran in the Coliseum Saturday, went back to Fort Worth, then got back in at like 4 a.m. And I was exhausted, but my horses had not been turned out since I got there. And so in Oklahoma City, they have this big warm-up pen, and I turned them out in that pen, and they ran and bucked for like 30 minutes. So I just sat there and like dozed off a little bit while they played. And then I put them up and I went to sleep. And then the next morning, you got to check in by 8. So I had some great family friends that checked in for me so I could sleep in just a little bit. And then we ran, and obviously I was not expecting to win it. And then, you win it and you got to stay there for pictures and the interviews, which was incredible. And then it was 6:00 before I left. And then I was like, it was 1 or 2 before I got home. And I had an exam that next morning at 10 that I had hardly studied for. And I was so nervous about it. And so this year has been the hardest. And I know next year is going to be harder. So I don't know where the pro rodeo world's going to take me with that. And how much I'm going to have to dabble between the two of them. But when you get to those 300 level classes, like I had finance, policy, a lot of hard classes, and trying to keep really only 2 horses. I've turned Clifford out because I decided I wanted to rodeo, and I'll give him the summer off. 2 horses in shape and in tune, really. Like I want them to stay sharp and running. And then, 12 to 15 hours of classes at A&M. It is tough, but I don't know. I think I just can't just sit. And so when I'm done with school or when I need a break, I go outside and I ride my horses, and it keeps my mind, happy. And the rodeos are where I'm happy. So it keeps me from getting, too low, and it balances it out, because whether you rodeo or not in college, you can't just do studies all the time. You've got to take a break every now and then, and horses are my break. So that helps, the balance of the two is, just even if I just go out there and just head on them, or I'll bring my iPad out there and I'll study out in their pasture, that's enough for me to just make it worth it. And, Bunny and Quincy really blew me away too. And she doesn't get as much credit as I think she deserves, but they both like really made that weekend worth it, because I was doubting myself the whole time, thinking, why would I possibly enter like this? And so, at the end of the day, if I didn't have good horses, it would be a lot harder, but they make it all worth it.
And that's why we do it.
For sure. It's all about the horses. Yes, ma'am.
So all in all, would you recommend a college rodeo team?
Joining? Did you say joining? You broke up?
Yeah. Would you recommend a college rodeo team?
For sure. I think you've got to pick the right team and school for your needs. But yes, it's so much fun. You meet a lot of people that will be lifelong friends, and you get a lot of opportunities from college rodeo. And I mean, it's fun, even if not everyone wins, obviously. And, one day there's going to be a time where that mare just, I don't have her and I don't win like I do right now. Because I did not win my freshman year. I borrowed an incredible horse and I still did not win with her. But it was still fun to cheer on your teammates and meet people. And the towns are fun. For the southern region, my favorite town ever is Sulphur Springs. They have the coolest square ever and the best food. And so every year I look so forward to that rodeo. And then this year, Uvalde had an incredible tribute to the school shooting. And so even if you take the winning or losing and the rodeo aspect out of it, it's a lot of fun. It is.
And I remembered what I was going to say earlier.
Oh yeah, perfect.
How you were finally around people that you could talk horses and school about.
Yes.
I don't know how it was in Lampasas, but I mean, I lived 45 minutes from you growing up.
Yes.
I mean, there's not really anyone at my school that does it.
No. And that's why I really did not like Lampasas High School. Like I made some good friends there, but no one rodeoed and no one understood just every aspect of rodeo like someone in the rodeo world does. It wasn't a real sport to them. Football, it's okay to miss school, but rodeo, it's not. And it just, I didn't have a friend close that I could, obsess over horses with, because that's all I want to talk about all the time is horses and rodeos and barrel races. And so I think it was so good for my mind to be around a crowd of people that are so like-minded to me, because when you get to college, and everyone told me this and I didn't believe them until I got there, college, you break off and you don't have to be around the people you don't like, because there's so many people. Like, not every school is as big as A&M, but there's 60,000 kids. And so if you don't like this, if you don't get along with this group, then go find a group you get along with. And with the rodeo team, I've just gotten close to a group of people that are so similar in like the passion and what it takes to be a winner in rodeo. And that's been incredible.
Absolutely. I know a lot that follow the Rodeo Kids stuff are from up north. I'm kind of the outsider, being in Texas where rodeo is the happening.
It's so prevalent in Texas.
And I mean, Madison's on here, and she could probably attest to this, but up there, they don't have a lot of people like them. Like, they're definitely the odd ones out. Rodeo is not a huge thing. You can't 5 minutes down the road for a jackpot every night of the week.
Yeah, I know, it's so different. And like, it was so weird to be, I mean, we're so close to Stephenville, where that is the cowboy capital of the world. And we're still just, no one in Lampasas rodeos, not in the high school, and not when I was there, and no one in my grade did. And so it was just, I was an outcast.
Yeah, I mean, great. We have kids in school that rodeo, but I mean, I don't have people to talk to about it.
I would just try to blend in enough just until I could get out of high school. But, it's just weird because we're in Texas, and when you disassociate yourself from just like, and go into the rodeo world, like you see people from every town almost. Like, you'll see a day sheet and there'll be so many different towns, and then your hometown just hardly has anybody that rodeos, and it's just so different.
Changing topics again.
Yeah.
I know you talk a lot about Tammy Fisher, so I'm guessing she's the one you look up to.
Yes, for sure. Definitely Tammy Fisher. She's been through, like, even outside of the rodeo world, like her mental game, she's been through just a whole lot, through family stuff and her son dying, and then winning Calgary 2 weeks later, to be able to mentally pull herself together enough to pull off that win. And she coaches, like, she trains horses, but she also trains jockeys, and she trains winners. Like, it's not just average horses, like, she trains winners. And she's helped a lot of girls get to the NFR, and that's like a very admirable quality. And I love being around her. She brings you back down to earth. So whenever Rabbit died, I was ready to throw everything in the bucket and quit. He was my best friend, and I just didn't want to do it without him. And she didn't let me. She mounted me on her good NFR horse, and she would let me cry. And then when I was done crying, she'd be like, okay, pick that sucker up, and we've got to figure this out. And so really the only reason I'm rodeoing right now is because she didn't let me quit. She's just been incredible for my, mental game in the world, but then also how I'm riding. She's helped me get all of the horses I have right. They all came through Ryan's program, but she hooked me up. Like, we got hooked up with Ryan, and she's helped me keep them winning, because that's, I think, harder than making a winner is keeping a winner. And I just can't thank her enough. She's helped me with everything you can imagine.
I know her story's so inspirational.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it'll bring tears to anybody.
Having the opportunity to learn from her is...
Yes, and she's welcomed me into her home for the last 3 years, which has been incredible. And just getting to see what it really takes, like, day in and day out of a winner, has been super helpful. Because I whatever it takes, I want to do it. I just don't want to do it wrong. Or, I mean, obviously it's going to go wrong, but I don't want to be allocating my time and resources into something that's not going to help me. And seeing what all she does, outside of riding and outside of working the horses, and, the maintenance behind it, and keeping them feeling good, and, like, also the entering aspect of it in the barrels when you enter is incredibly important, because the ground changes, and so her helping me with the entering has also been a huge influence on how well Bunny has done at the pro rodeos, which is also I can't thank her enough.
So we did a team meeting this week over the mental game and overcoming hard. What mental or physical challenges have you faced throughout your career, and how have you overcome them?
Mentally, it was incredibly difficult to, like, want to get back into the rodeo world when I did not have Rabbit. He kind of got me back into the barrel racing whenever I did not do good in high school. And so whenever I got him, he kind of inspired me to be a barrel racer again. And his death was real sudden. And that, like, took a huge toll on me, because it was at, my life was changing. I was transitioning to college, and it was within the first 3 weeks of college and 9 days before my first college rodeo. And that was a big, obstacle to overcome, to not want to, well, I mean, I did want to quit for sure. I would call Tammy at, like, the college rodeos just crying because I didn't have him, and he was always who I dreamed of college rodeoing on. And I think being around someone who is as mentally strong as Tammy is, and so sure about God's plan and what he has for us, really was an incredible influence on me. I mean, it's hard to put into words, but it was hard for me for those 6 months to realize what God's plan was, because even after I started trying horses, she didn't let us try horses for like 3 months, because she just knew it was going to be really hard. And then when I started trying horses, it was even harder, because I'd be like, oh, well, this one doesn't turn like Rabbit did, or he doesn't lope like Rabbit did, or, he doesn't go to the left barrel like Rabbit did. And it was just a comparison to Rabbit. And then I'd find one I love and he'd fail a vet check. And so getting myself out of that was hard, and having Tammy there with me through the whole time, it, like, honestly and truly, she is the reason that I'm still barrel racing after Rabbit's death. And I'm so glad, because God really did have an incredible plan for me through Bunny and Quincy, and hopefully Clifford. He's the young colt. And it was just sticking out those 6 months that felt like they were never ending. And God, like, I just try to put my faith in him, and it's been I've grown a lot since then. And I don't know how to, I'm trying to use the right words, but at the end of the day, you can't control what happens. You can't control the outcome of things. And God he has the ultimate plan. And at the time of Rabbit's death, I had no idea that I was going to have an incredible horse, named Bunny, that was going to come after him and bring me to all the places that he couldn't, and just light the fire back inside of me. And remind me what it was like to be a winner and to love another horse again. I was so scared of loving a horse after he died, because that a lot of people didn't understand it. They're like, oh, he's just a horse, and I'm like, no, he was a horse, but he was my teammate, he was my friend. I would vent to him on, like, he was there during a lot of tough times in my life in high school, and to not have him there was hard to move into this next chapter of my life. And I just am so glad that God brought me Bunny to help me, through this next stage in my life. Physically, I know you said mentally and physically, I have not had a lot. Luckily, I did hurt my knee 3 weeks before the college finals last year, and I was a little crippled. It was actually a funny story. It's so dumb. Tammy has a big Kentworth, and it had just rained, and I had flip-flops on because we were headed to a volleyball game for Sydney, and it has 2 rings, so 2 steps. I got to the second step and I grabbed Tammy's wallet and I slipped and twisted my knee. And I mean, by the time we got to town, like, I almost had to take my pants off. I had a hole, thank goodness. I had the Holy jeans and a hole right where my knee was. And I mean, it was just overflowing with swelling, couldn't bend it. And we were joking, like, of course, 3 weeks before, the biggest rodeo I've ever been entered in, I'm crippled. And, I'm entered in rodeos that week. And I'm like, okay, well, I've got to figure out how to ride my horse with this knee. And so luckily, by the time, and I refused to see a doctor about it because I was worried they were going to be like, oh, you need to stay off of it for like 3 months. And like, that's not going to do anything. I'm just going to ignore it. And I kind of wish I would have, I would have just ignored them. They would have been like, oh yeah, you've got to be off of it, you've torn something. And so by the time I got up to Casper, it was mobile, I could do stuff on it. And we have this softball tournament at Casper that is like it is so fun, but the ground is so slick. So I'm so competitive, so of course I'm going to play if I can run. And my first time at bat, I hit the ball, run to first base, then the next person hits the ball. I mean, I'm 3 steps out of first base and I just nosedive. It was so embarrassing because I didn't trip over anything, nothing. But I mean, the ground was so slick, there's no traction, and I tear up both my knees. And I still had the 3rd round and and the short go that did come up. And that is like one of the funniest stories I have of Casper and like rodeos in general, because I was so dumb to go play softball when I was so crippled. I mean, my knee, I scraped it up so bad that when I bent it, and it was the good knee that I scraped up bad. The bad knee, I just swelled up more. The good knee was scraped up so bad that just bending it was like ripping the scab open. And so I was walking so crippled for like 3 days. And my coach was like, oh my gosh, you got crippled? I thought you were better. And I was like, I was until the softball game. But that's the only physical, it wasn't even like a challenge. Like I got on Bunny and it didn't hurt that bad. It was just walking. But that's the funniest story I have. Yeah. It's embarrassing.
I think it's definitely still a challenge though.
Yeah. And I mean, that knee hurt me for like, I went back to the doctor in like September, and they x-rayed it. And then right before the doctor called me in, I got a call that my mare was colicking, not Bunny, but Quincy. And I was like, okay, my knee's not that bad. I've got to go and take her to the vet. So I still don't even know what happened to my knee or what was wrong. It's getting better now. It's been a year, I guess now. And just last month, Tammy was bullying me because I ride with my stirrups uneven because I don't like to bend that knee. And so it was my right knee that I hurt, and my right knee was so much longer than my right stirrup was so much longer than my left stirrup. And she was like, you're having your weight uneven. And my horses were stumbling a lot. And I'm like, this is not in character for them. They stand up great and I can't get them to stand up. And she's like, it's because you're slinging all that weight to that right leg. And so she measured them, because I would get on and I'd be like, oh no, this right one's way too short. And they'd be the same, and just bending it normal, like, felt awful. And so I've had to get used to riding with normal length stirrups after a year of uneven stirrups, it sounds so dumb, but it has been so hard because I want to get off and I want to lengthen that stirrup because bending it normal feels so weird and it just hurts. It's just not bad. It just hurts enough for me to be annoyed by it. But I still laugh about that a whole year over me being so clumsy. I couldn't step out of a truck right.
Yeah, that's quite the sport.
Yeah, I'm a clumsy girl.
All right. You've accomplished some crazy, awesome feats just in the past 3 years, and you've persevered through so much.
Oh,
How do you setting your goals?
I used to have like all these goals set with Rabbit and, just the amateur part of it. Like I wanted to amateur rodeo with him so bad and I would fill out all my CPRA stuff and then something would happen and he'd be off for a couple weeks. And then literally the day he died that morning, I had filled out all my amateur stuff because I was like, I'm going to amateur rodeo and I'm going to make the finals next year. And then after that happened, I was like, you know what, I need to step back from goals and just, live in the moment and be happy with what happens. So I never when I got Bunny, I of course didn't know how incredible she would become and where all she would take me. So I didn't have huge goals set for her. I just would kind of play it by ear. The first rodeo I took her to, she won it by half a second at Winsboro. It was an amateur. And I kind of got it kind of got me interested in the amateurs more again. And so I had of course wanted to make the amateur finals, but it was never something that I just focused so hard on that I would lose sight of, having fun with my horse. I never wanted to be so goal oriented that I would forget why I rodeoed and why I do this with the horse I love. And so I just never sat down and wrote goals out like I probably should have. Just, I would talk to Tammy and we'd be like, yeah, well, let's just go to the amateur rodeos this year. And we'd go and then we'd make the finals and, she'd do good at the finals. And then the first year it wasn't accidentally, but, I came into the final sitting first and I didn't even buy my WPRA card until July. And that was wow, she really is incredible. And then after that, my dad did not want me to pro rodeo while I was in school because he didn't want me to get distracted. And so that next year, I just kind of did the same thing, just amateur rodeoed. And I had more goals for Quincy than for Bunny. It's never really about me just because, I'm a nobody. I'm just sitting on those horses and I'm just trying to help them, do as good as they can. And so my goals were more I wanted Quincy to be a solid horse and I wanted to help her. I didn't want to be the reason that she wasn't a good barrel horse because I got her to train and I didn't want to mess up so badly that I ruined her potential. And then even right now with me sitting in, I'm third in the rookie, I don't want to make that my goal because of course I would love to win the Rookie of the Year, but there's just so many factors that can happen. And I don't want to be so heartbroken if it doesn't happen. So I'm not your best answer at the goals because I don't just sit down and write down my goals. I did really I did set a goal for myself to win the region this year and Bunny got hurt. She didn't get hurt, but she was out for a rodeo after we had started winning and we only had 2 rodeos left and I had to run Quincy and Quincy fell. And that was kind of when I lost the region. And, that hurt me a little bit because I really wanted Bunny and Quincy to win the region just because I thought they deserved it. And so that kind of humbled me back about my goal setting. My goals are more, I do have a list on my phone of goals, but they're more get Quincy consistent in the 1D and, just more not physical winnings or physical rodeos, but more of mentally and consistently get my horses where I think they need to be. And then go from there. Like I had never set the goal to win BBR, just because, Bunny does not run 1D at those big jackpots. That's just not her thing. She doesn't fire hard unless she's at a rodeo. So my goal, like what I was wanting that day, was a check, and then even if it was in the 2D. And she was like, well, watch this. But my goals are more set for the horse, and I want to keep them sound. I want to keep them happy. That's really hard because they're so different. Bunny is happier when she's in the trailer. I have turned her out. I've had her 2 years, and I have given her 2 breaks, and she has been miserable both breaks I've given her. And so I try to keep her happy, and her version of happy is running and rodeoing. And so those are more my goals, not rodeo wins. Like if I win Rookie of the Year, that's incredible, and that's going to look great for Bunny. But I also know that we could go out there this summer and she not like those pins, or God just not have that in the cards for us, and she get hurt and we have to come home. I'd love to win the college finals, but there's just so many factors playing in. Last year we had ground trouble in the short go, and so I feel like a lot of times people get so goal oriented that they lose sight of what this sport is about. And I want to give glory to God, and I want to keep my horses happy and make them look as best as they can.
I love that perspective.
It was a little long-winded, but I just don't write physical goals down just because I feel like it's gonna mess up what I focus on most.
I heard Trevor Brazil one time. I think it was Trevor Brazil. He said, if you know what your goals are, and like you have dreams and you have aspirations, why do you need to write them down if you have them in your heart and your soul, and if you're doing them for the right reasons, like you're talking about glorifying God? And
Yes.
so I think that's awesome. Like you don't have to write them down. And it depends on your personality too, but I do think it's true that like I'm not a big goal writer either. I think you get to have a vision of the things you want to accomplish. And
Yes.
then you just get to believe that God put that vision in your heart for a reason, and that if you continue to walk in the way that He has planned and to follow it, when He says jump, you jump.
Yes,
And
for
it doesn't
sure.
always make sense, but I love that.
No, I love that too. And like my goal of, I want God's gonna point me in the direction that goal that He wants it to be in. It might not be me winning the college finals, but He might point me somewhere else that He thinks is better. And as long as that's His version of making my horses look good and glorifying Him, and keeping everything happy, then that's where He wanted me to be. And it wasn't winning the college finals. So I try to just go with the flow. It's really hard because I do. Tammy jokes with me all the time because I'm such a planner. Like I want to know where we're going and have a plan set, and I'm a fretter. Like I get nervous when things just aren't perfect, and I've been working on that. But just kind of like relaxing in God's plan has been what's helped me a lot.
Yes, ma'am. That's great. And I think as long as you stay on that road, it's not even, and Callie, you can attest to this. We talk about rodeo being our vessel,
Yes.
not just our goal. It's not about the material things of the trophy or the standing for the leaderboard. Like, yes, we want that to, that's part of the goal. That's our part of the vision that we want
Yes.
to accomplish those things. But it's the lives that we get to touch, and the people we get to meet, and the horses and all of that we get to interact with on the way, that make it all worth even having those saddles and those places on the leaderboard. Because if you took all the people and the horses and all that away, it wouldn't matter anyway.
For sure. That's, without your village, and, of course, if maybe God blesses me another day with a horse as incredible as Bunny, but, she's the one who, makes me wake up in the morning and want to be better. And so I think a lot of that comes down to, God brought me that horse to inspire me again and get me where he wanted me to be. And so I definitely agree with everything you just said.
rodeo is so much more than just a sport.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I feel like it's the best, like, obviously every sport thinks they're the greatest, but God is just so strong in the rodeo world. And I think that's the most beautiful thing is every time someone wins something and they have this interview, they bring up God, and you don't see that in basketball or football or anything like that. But rodeo, we just live to glorify God, and maybe win a check on the weekend, but it's mainly about God and the friends that we make and the family. They're more family than friends.
Amen.
All right. Now that we're kind of winding down and wrapping up, I want to finish off. What is your favorite quote or Bible verse?
Oh, I have a lot. Let me think about that one. I've always loved obviously the Bible verses of Philippians 4:13. That one's always been really good. We read Romans this year in the Aggie Bible study, and I've really liked that. But I never get, everyone always asks me my favorite Bible verse, and I feel like it changes all the time based on where you're at in your life. And honestly, I don't know what my favorite one is right now.
Oh, I think it was
Yeah.
perfect. Depends on your life.
Yeah, what's your life and just what's going on, for sure.
Do you have a favorite hype song or something you listen to when you're getting ready?
I love Rihanna, but I also mainly listen to Taylor Swift. I'm obsessed with Taylor Swift. So when I'm driving to rodeos, I have 3 playlists. I have a country playlist, a more hype playlist, but it is mainly Rihanna because I love her, and Taylor Swift, but mainly Taylor Swift right now. And it's not a hype song, but my favorite song of hers is Karma and Cardigan.
Good choice. Good choice. I can get behind that.
Yeah, I'm a big T Swift fan.
And do you have a favorite book?
My favorite book series is The Hunger Games, but that's I love the Mind Gym for mental fortitude. But aside from that, I'm obsessed with the Hunger Games series. But actually 2 days ago, my assistant rodeo coach gave us all a mind book to read, which was really cool. And I haven't got to start that yet, but I do like reading those kind of books. And I read the one that Stevie and Ty published, if we're going to go more on the mind aspect of it. Obviously the Bible is, top of the list, but aside from that, I love those.
Thank you again for taking the time to sit down with us.
Of course. I had so much fun.
Too. This has been one of my favorite podcasts.
Yes.
Any other bits of wisdom to share before we let you go?
I'm I don't know. I just kind of go with the flow, but I think that if you really want to do this, you need to get with someone who knows what they're doing and who can help you, because it is not a one-man sport. You need a village. You need people that will support you through all of it, and you need someone who knows what they're doing to help you, because I would still be some girl on a crippled horse that didn't even know the barrel pattern if it wasn't for Tammy. So I think having a good mentor and someone that you can trust is vital in this sport.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and have a great night. It was so good to visit with you again.
Yeah.
Again for tuning in to the Rodeo Kids podcast. If you haven't already, we'd like to encourage you to push that follow button. And if there's something that you resonated with today that you feel like somebody close to you or somebody that you know would also resonate with, we encourage you to share it with them. Sharing is caring. And on that note, we want to share with you about our Rodeo Kids scholarships as well. Every month, Rodeo Kids gives away 2 scholarships for kids across the country to attend clinics, camps, and educational opportunities. The way that ours works out, that's maybe a little different than others, is that we don't ever send the money to the parents. It goes directly to the culture clinician. So we are certain that those funds are allocated correctly. We also don't judge on people's situation or what they have going on in their life. We just trust that God's going to give this money and this opportunity to the youth who needs it to interact with the people that they need to be with, because that's what life's all about, is creating connections, networking, building our confidence, our courage, and our skills and our faith. And so that's what we're trying to do with the Rodeo Kids, with the Rodeo Kids Scholarship Fund. If this is something that you are interested in applying for, you can head on over to rodeokids.com/scholarships to apply today. If you're listening to this and you think, wow, that's really cool, I'd like to help support that, you can go on to rodeokids.com/support and learn different ways to support, or you can reach out to us if you don't see something, but you have a better or different idea that's more fitting for you. So again, that's rodeokids.com, and we look forward to hearing from you. We are in it together. We love you. We care about you. You are important, and we want to wish you the best of luck, safe travels, and as always, God bless.